Welcome to The Explainer. We're all about taking complex topics and breaking them down into clear, dynamic presentations that, actually make sense. So let's just dive right in. You know that feeling, right? Where your brain just feels like a web browser with way too many tabs open all at once. That feeling of being stuck on a mental repeat, that's the cycle we know as overthinking. And today, we're going to figure out how to finally hit the pause button. All right, first things first, let's get a really clear handle on what we're actually dealing with here. What is this loop and who gets caught in it? At its heart, overthinking is when your thought process crosses a line. It goes from helpful, productive problem solving to just spinning your wheels. It's when your thoughts get stuck in this repetitive, harmful loop that never actually gets to a solution or gives you any peace. So, who does this hit the hardest? Well, expert Melody Wilding has a name for a group she calls sensitive strivers. These are high achievers, people who just naturally think and feel everything a little more deeply. They make up about 15 to 20% of us. And while that sensitivity is a huge strength, it can also make them way more prone to tipping over into overthinking. Let's look at the story of Enos. It really paints a picture. She's a high-level manager, and when her job duties suddenly got bigger, the stress just sent her into a tailspin. Suddenly, she was second-guessing every single decision, paralyzed by doubt, and just couldn't shut her brain off at night. Her story is a perfect, and probably pretty relatable, example of how fast our thoughts can turn against us. But here's the thing. This isn't just a failure of willpower. Not at all. There is some fascinating science behind why our brains get caught in these spirals. It's actually built into our wiring. Okay, so think of your brain as having two key networks. First, there's the default mode network, or DMN. This is your brain's autopilot. It loves to wander, replaying the past, worrying about the future. Its partner is the direct experience network, which is all about the here and now, what you are sensing and doing in this exact moment. Well, overthinking is basically your default mode network going into overdrive, hijacking your attention, and pulling you out of the present. And it's a chemical story, too. It's like a chain reaction. Dopamine, the reward chemical, kicks it all off, pushing your brain to find a solution. Adrenaline gives you the energy to keep pushing. But when no answer comes, your system gets flooded with cortisol, the stress hormone. And that's the chemical switch that turns productive thinking into that awful, stressful feeling of just ruminating. And this is the really crucial part. This isn't just some harmless quirk. The research is incredibly clear on this. Chronic overthinking is a major factor in mental health conditions like anxiety and depression. It's a cycle that feeds itself, and it can be really tough to break. Okay, so we know what it is and we know why it happens. So what in the world do we do about it? Well, the first powerful strategy is all about reframing your mindset, actively changing the story you tell yourself about your own thoughts. A super common trap is what's called all or nothing thinking, where something is either a massive success or a total, complete failure. The reframe here is to force yourself to look for the gray area. When your brain gives you only two extreme options, you have to pause and ask, okay, wait, what are the other possibilities I'm missing here? And here's another big one, overgeneralization. This is where one little mistake suddenly becomes proof that you're doomed to fail forever. The trick is to catch those big absolute words like always or never. The reframe is to treat each event as just one event, a single data point. It doesn't define your entire life. So sometimes you're right in the middle of a spiral, and just thinking differently feels impossible. That's when you need strategy 2. You have to break the pattern. This is about creating a pattern interrupt, a simple action that literally jolts your brain onto a new track. And these interrupts can be surprisingly simple. You could literally just visualize a giant red stop sign in your mind. Or try imagining putting your worries onto a balloon and just watching it float away. Some people use a little physical cue, like gently snapping a rubber band on their wrist. Another great one is to just grab a journal and do a brain dump. Write nonstop for 15 minutes to get the thoughts out of your head. And maybe the most powerful pattern interrupt we have is the one we have with us all the time, our own breath. This simple exercise is a game changer because it physically calms your nervous system. By focusing on that sensation of your chest and belly rising and falling, you are activating that direct experience network and pulling yourself right back into the present moment. You are physically breaking the cycle. Our final strategy is maybe the biggest shift of all. It's not about fighting your thoughts. It's not even about interrupting them. It's about choosing to focus on what actually matters to you instead. This idea comes from a really amazing approach called acceptance and commitment therapy, or ACT. There's this one case study about an athlete who was just completely stuck in his head. And the goal wasn't to get him to stop his anxious thoughts. The goal was to get him to accept them as just noise, and instead focus all his energy on the actions that would make him the athlete he wanted to be. So how do you do this? You use your core values as your personal compass. Let's circle back to Enos, the manager we met at the beginning. Through some work, she figured out that one of her deepest, most important values was integrity. And that question became her secret weapon. Anytime she felt that overthinking spiral start to pull her in, she wouldn't get lost in the weeds. She'd just ask herself that one simple question. It was like a mental shortcut that cut through all the noise and helped her make clear, confident decisions that were aligned with who she wanted to be. So, after all that, the science, the strategies, what's the one crucial idea you should take away from all this? This is it. This is the whole ballgame. The goal isn't to have a perfectly silent mind. Let's be real, that's not going to happen. The goal is to build a new relationship with your thoughts. It's about recognizing that they are just mental events. They're not commands, they are not facts, and you have the power to choose which ones get your attention. And that leaves us with this final thought. What if the goal isn't to win a war against your own mind? What if it's simply to change how you listen to it? By reframing, interrupting, and focusing on your values, you take back the controls. You're not trying to silence the noise, you're just learning to change the channel, tuning down the static, and tuning into the life you actually want to live.